Welcome back to another daily recap for Wednesday, January 22, 2025, where once again they gapped up at the open, and today they spiked the former all-time highs, came down and closed right below the former all-time highs, and we'll come back to this daily chart later to talk about what they might be doing in the near future. First, here's the email with today's levels that was sent out at 8:46 a.m. You can see the zone here at the top between 608.50 and 609. We'll look at that in a minute. And if you want to pause the video to read the game plan for the day, you're welcome to do so. Here's a quick shot of the chart as it looked before the market opened this morning. And here it is after the close. It's currently 7:05 p.m. Eastern. So 3 levels were hit and there were trades. We'll zoom in and talk about what could have happened or what should have happened if you were playing by the rules. They opened up here, they came down into this level, 605.40, and while they did mess around with this level and would have given a trade, say we adjusted this with our 5-cent buffer, then this would have pulled a trade in at 605.45, but this was before the 15-minute window. So you're welcome to take a trade before that. I just like to wait for 15 minutes and give the market time to settle in. When that happened, the close of the 9:45 candle, they were above this level and never came back, during the open session at least, to hit it, as adjusted at 606.39. And you'd be looking for 4 points, and they really came within a penny here in the SPY. Now, I got this trade in the E-minis. Oftentimes, you'll get a little bit more movement in the futures than you do in the SPY. However, I didn't execute the trade precisely at 606.39. If I enter an order in the system to say sell E-mini contracts if the SPY is greater than or equal to 606.39, so that would trigger it as they're coming up here. So I'm not going to count this because the low of this was 606. You would really need 605.99. That's 40 cents. If you saw this happen when you were in the short position here in the E-minis, they came down within a penny or tick or so of your profit objective and immediately rocketed back up to your entry point. What I would do is jump out of the trade at a wash at that point. So we're not going to count this as a base hit, although when we watch my live trade that was recorded, you'll see it actually happen and work out okay. A recycle trade is if we trade to this same level on the other side. We don't necessarily have to adjust the levels, but I will. So we're going to go up to 606.49. That's 5 cents above the level from the morning. And what do? They went to a high of 606.82, and then within a few minutes, they're back down to the entry point. Once again, that's kind of a near miss of the profit objective. Not sure I'd want to say in it because I don't know at this point if that was it. That's all they're going to give, and they're maybe going to come down a little farther. They did it more than once, but they finally went up and would have given a base hit. But once again, playing by the rules, I'm not going to count this. They bounced, but strictly adhering to the rules. That wouldn't have been a trade. I was not involved in the market after this first trade. I had things to do, so we'll watch this recording of everything going on, at least the market just doing their thing, and I'm not in it. But anyway, this level on both sides, not going to count it, playing by the rules. Now we're up at 607.44, so we'll go to 607.39 as a trigger point. We want them to come down 4 points in the E-minis, and here's where that would be. And in this case, this would have worked fine. There's a fumble threshold up here. I'll just go ahead and put a reference level so you can see what that's at. That would be around here. So while they touch this a few times, oftentimes you'll see the SPY move in 40-cent increments. So it's not too surprising that they're, from this point here, they stalled out. They went up 40 cents, came back down to 40 cents, back up. This happens a lot. That's why I like 4 points as my base hit, because it's more likely to happen. Anyway, so there's your one base hit on this trade here on the short side. You went short here at 11:30 or so and waited this thing out, you would have had a base hit a couple hours later. So this level is done for the day. So is this level. We've already traded it both times. Plus, it's the end of the day here. And while they did bounce again at 606.49 or thereabouts, the original level was 606.44. I'm not going to take a trade after 3:30 p.m. And this was well after 3:30 p.m. It's just too close to the closing bell. And I want to show you something here. If I turn on the after hours session, so this is the 24-hour, this is kind of interesting to see. Currently, it's 7:11 p.m. and they're going on. Look what they did here. So this is the original level, 606.44. After the market closed and they're kind of meandering around in the post-market activity, each time they spiked up here after getting below that level, they spiked up to exactly 606.44 several times. So do you think there's a coincidence that these levels work? And the last one's here. So they're important and they work pretty well if you know how to trade them. This is the trade that I took. Notice the time. It was a few minutes before 10 a.m. And this video is going to start when I'm already in the trade. I got this set up and started recording. I really didn't have a lot of time. Knew I would be busy, so I just wanted a quick trade, and I got it. 4 points with 2 contracts. And this is what I was talking about, where it may not have worked out if you had traded this thing at 606.39, but that got me the 4 points there. And it continued. I'm just going to scrub ahead here and show you that I didn't do anything else for the rest of the day. Just took that little trade. I'm happy with it. I stopped this right before noon and shut this down and was not back in front of this computer for the rest of the day. So we're back on the daily chart. At the open, they gapped higher again, kept going. We had some trend lines here for the last few days and last week that they have been getting above. So today, they went to a high of 607.82. That beat the former all-time highs, came back down. So the close of today is 606.44. Don't know if that's the official close. At least that's what it is over here on TradingView. So 606.44 is below this high. Now, we've talked about this breakdown candle. They're consolidating inside this thing. They've attempted the top a few times. Normally, this is a bearish type of consolidation that will play out to the downside. They had their chance. They gave kind of a fake out here. They closed a few days underneath the level. However, now they're above it, and this is the first day where there's an official daily close above the top of this breakdown candle, and that's today. So that looks pretty good for the bulls, right? Well, in terms of timing, it would not be too surprising for them to pull back a little bit. I don't know. It's probably a small thing, but if they had closed above the high, if they closed up here somewhere at the highs, like right here, call it 608 or so. If they close at like 608, I think that makes a better case for the bulls. But I don't know. I kind of feel, I shouldn't say that because feel is the wrong word, but based on the time it's taken them to get to this place right now, this point in time where price and time are converging, it would not be too surprising for them to pull back a little bit. I'm kind of banking on that tomorrow. We're going to see what they do in the post market and early in the morning. However, they've already pulled back somewhat. If I go to maybe an hourly chart, let's turn the after hours, the extended hours on. Yeah, they're pulling back already a little bit here. I'm not saying that's going to sustain and last all night, but it is worth noticing. So over on the tracking log, I'm doing something a little different here. I just have it filtered out by 2025. So this is everything this year so far. I thought it'd be kind of interesting to track it just so you can see the rate of return, the profit and loss metrics, the daily average, everything else based on what we're doing throughout the year. I'll probably cycle through like a 2-week window here for each of the recap videos, but this is the entire month so far playing by their rules. You can see the base hit trade here, 4 points at the level here in L5, level 5. And you can read the notes. And then over on the Sam's Trades log, 4 points, but just on the other level, the one that you saw in the live recording. So I think it's going to be kind of interesting to see the rate of return as it evolves over time based on what we're doing, because you're seeing everything just like 2024. You saw all of my trades, the vast majority of them. You've seen each one of these. All have been recorded except for a couple when I was out of the country and I did on my phone, just small trades. Let me just point out here that this rate of return is based on a very simple approach here. It's kind of linear. So it's $50,000 starting balance. So say you had $50,000 at the beginning of 2025 and you're trading 2 contracts, 2 E-mini contracts or ES contracts at each of these levels throughout the day. And this is what you would have so far, just a few weeks into the month. That's not going to change. It's based on just 2 contracts at every level. So at some point, your $50,000 is going to turn into enough to comfortably trade more than 2 contracts. But just to keep this thing simple, that's what that rate of return is based on. So if you're doing the math and you're figuring this out, you probably know that at some point you can move up and trade more contracts, thereby increasing your rate of return over time because you now have the available margin to trade more contracts. Hope that makes sense. So in my trades, I'll probably have to change this up a little bit to have the rate of return, which once again is based on just 2 contracts traded at each level with a $50,000 starting balance. I'm going to change this to make it reflect the actual rate of return because I don't have a $50,000 starting balance. I'm trading more contracts oftentimes. So each of these is going to reflect something different. So rate of return is going to be higher. And I'll be happy to share that, but I'll just do the math and create a metric for that later. It's something I thought about sharing. But anyway, that's what I have for today. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I appreciate those the last few days who put me over that 269, which I was stuck at for about a month or so. So 270, 71 subscribers. I appreciate it. Thanks for helping this channel grow. So I hope it reaches more traders and potential traders. I'll talk to you in the next recap video. Have a great rest of your day.